The story will be told from the perspective of the main female character.
You have 48 hours. Pack your stuff and get out. This house is ours now. That's what my younger sister, Kristina, said while standing in the middle of the living room, slowly looking around like she was checking the price of everything. My name is Mila. I'm 32 years old. I live with my parents in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon, and I work as a software engineer. Money has never really been a problem for me. I earn well, I pay my bills, and I don't depend on anyone. That morning was supposed to be normal. It was 5 a.m., my favorite hour of the day. The house was quiet. The smell of fresh coffee filled the kitchen while I sat there coding, alone, focused, calm. That was my routine, my safe space. This house wasn't just a building. My grandfather had built it with his own hands. It was old, a bit noisy when you walked on the floors, but it was home. The only place I ever truly cared about. The place I had protected for years. Then the silence broke. I heard a noise and looked up. And there she was, Kristina. She hadn't been in this house for years. Standing next to her was her husband, Jonah, with that fake, confident look he always wore. Mila, this is a bit sudden, Kristina said, her voice cold and flat. Before I could even reply, she scanned the room again and repeated, You have 48 hours. Pack your things and leave. This house belongs to us now. For a second, my mind went completely blank. I honestly thought I had misheard her. Then my mother appeared from the hallway and said, calmly but cruelly, Mila, listen. Kristina and Jonah can use this house better. You've always been alone. They actually have plans for it. That was the moment something inside me broke, not in a loud or emotional way. It was quiet, cold, sharp. I slowly lifted my head and looked straight at my mother. A plan, I said. You mean the kind of plan where someone else pays off the mortgage on this house? Her face went white. I turned to Kristina, who had been smiling just seconds ago. Do you even know about the $160,000 loan? The room froze. Kristina and Jonah had no idea. In their heads, this was just a free house. Then I looked at my father. He was staring at the floor like it might save him. Dad, I said, are you really not going to say anything? Is this my reward for everything I've done? 48 hours to disappear. That's a pretty bad return on investment. Silence, thick and uncomfortable. They probably expected me to cry, to beg, but I was done playing that role. I took a breath and said almost cheerfully, Fine, I understand. I'll start getting ready. That wasn't giving up. That was the start of a war. In my head, the plan was already running. Project name Payback. Deadline 48 hours. I went back to my room and closed the door quietly. I didn't cry, not even once. All I felt was adrenaline. I started listing everything I owned in this house. If they thought they were taking the house, I would take everything that actually gave it value. Every piece of comfort, every useful thing, every dollar I had poured into this place. They didn't even understand why this house still existed. Years ago, my father lost all his retirement money to a scam. My mother's part-time income barely covered her spending. To fix it, they took out a big bank loan using this house as collateral. When my grandfather died, the house was transferred into their names, and that's how they got the loan. They stopped paying. The bank almost took the house. I still remember that night clearly. My father sitting at the table, head in his hands, staring at the foreclosure notice. My mother crying, saying, Mila, you can fix this, right? If you help us, we'll put the house in your name. The bank's deal was brutal. Pay everything off, overdue payments plus the full balance and interest. $160,000 within 3 years, or the house would be sold at auction. It's for the family, my mother said. Because of that sentence, I delayed my own dream of buying a home, something I had been planning for 3 years, and instead paid the loan every single month without missing a payment. I thought their relieved smiles meant gratitude. They didn't. That was the look of people who found a convenient wallet. And it wasn't just the loan. The big L-shaped sofa in the living room. I bought it after months of overtime, dreaming about family movie nights. The 65-inch OLED TV. I bought it because my dad once said new TVs were amazing. When the washing machine broke, I replaced it with a high-end washer-dryer combo. When the roof leaked, I paid. When the walls faded, I repainted them. I put my money, my time, and my care into this house. I just wanted my family to live comfortably. And after everything was paid off, this is how they treated me. So within those 48 hours, I decided to take everything that was mine, cleanly, legally, completely. The first thing I needed was help from the outside, a professional one, a moving company. It was still early morning. I opened my laptop and typed into the search bar, Portland Emergency Moving Service 24 hours. A few companies popped up. One caught my attention right away, Green Mountain Movers. Great reviews, clean website, looked serious. I decided to try. I called the number. After a few rings, a man picked up. His name was David. His voice sounded sleepy but polite. "Good morning," he said. "I'm really sorry to call so early," I told him, "but I need an emergency move done today." I explained the situation quickly. I didn't go into emotions, just facts. At first, David sounded confused. "Today?" he asked, surprised. But when I listed what needed to be moved, the large sofa, the TV, the washer, dining chairs, appliances, and personal items, his tone changed. He realized this wasn't someone running away in panic. This was a real job. "We'll have to charge a rush fee," he said, "but we can do it. The earliest we can send a crew is around noon. Does that work?" "Perfect." At noon, everyone would usually be out of the house. I could erase my presence completely. "Yes," I said, "noon works, and please, I need the team to be as quiet as possible." "Don't worry," David replied, "we're professionals." That one sentence gave me more peace than any fake family apology ever could. I hung up and checked the first step off my plan. Then I started preparing. I opened a folder with all my receipts and began sticking small post-it notes on everything that was mine. "This is mine. That's mine. That one too. All of it." For the hours before noon, I packed calmly. My parents and Kristina probably expected me to be crying in my room. Sometimes I could hear them laughing in the living room. It didn't bother me at all. It felt distant, like background noise. Right at noon, the intercom buzzed. The Green Mountain Movers had arrived. David was leading the team. They were quiet, fast, and professional. I met them at the door and pointed to the items marked with notes. They seemed a little surprised by how calm I was, but they didn't ask questions. The first thing they took out was the big L-shaped sofa, the symbol of that fake family dream I once had. 2 movers lifted it easily and carried it through the door. Watching it leave, I didn't feel sad. I felt free, like a heavy chain had been cut. That sofa wasn't a memory. It was something I bought with my own money. Next came the TV, carefully removed from the wall and wrapped. Then the washer, the microwave, the toaster. Everything went into the truck one by one, clean and organized. One mover stopped while holding a dining chair and asked, "Is it okay to leave the table?" "Yes," I said. "The table belonged to my grandfather, but the chairs I bought those last year." He nodded and carried the chairs away. That's when it hit me. I wasn't destroying the house. I was removing my contribution, precisely, cleanly, like surgery. After the truck drove away, the house felt hollow, quiet in a strange way, like a church with no people in it. I stood in the middle of the living room. Most people would feel a sense of loss. I felt accomplishment. I took a photo of the moving receipt, proof, documentation. Then I placed the house key gently on the dining table. I didn't need it anymore. Showtime. I took my laptop and went to a nearby cafe. I started paperwork for a new place and waited. Exactly 48 hours later, my smartwatch vibrated softly. "Time's up." I was sitting by the window, sipping espresso, watching the sunset when my phone lit up. "Mum calling." I didn't answer. I let it go to voicemail. Kristina's voice came through first, hysterical, screaming. "There's nothing here, the house is empty, she took everything." My mother tried to calm her down, but I could hear the panic in her voice. "I've been calling Mila, she won't answer. What is happening?" Their plan had been simple. I would cry, pack, and disappear. They never imagined the house would be stripped bare. I texted my best friend and lawyer, Rebecca. "Everything's ready to go." Her reply came fast. "Popcorn ready." A few minutes later, my dad called. I sent that to voicemail too. Mila, his voice said, confused more than angry. What did you do? The house is empty. Call me back. You've gone too far. Too far. I put my phone on silent and finished my coffee slowly, imagining them walking through empty rooms. The next morning I was sitting in Rebecca's law office. Modern glass walls, clean space. She handed me herbal tea and smiled. So, she said, your empty castle caused quite a reaction. I played her the voicemails. She listened carefully, then nodded. Good opening move. I placed a thick folder of receipts on the table, along with an old photo of my grandfather Fred. Rebecca flipped through the papers, impressed. This is solid, she said. Everything you removed is clearly yours. If they accuse you of theft, it'll be treated as a civil matter, not criminal. But that's not all, I said. I pointed to the photo. My grandfather built that house himself. I always thought my parents inherited it legally. But something feels wrong. The way my dad reacted, it's like he's scared I'll find something. Rebecca leaned forward. Her lawyer face switched on instantly. You think the inheritance wasn't handled properly? Yes. She nodded slowly. Then we dig county records, we'll archives. If there's anything there, we'll find it. I gave her my grandfather's full name and the approximate date of his death. She squeezed my shoulder. You already did the hardest part, she said. Now let me do mine. When I stepped outside, the Portland sky was painfully blue. For the first time in years, I felt calm. This wasn't just my fight anymore. And deep down, I knew whatever truth was coming, it was going to change everything. I started by making a list of every single thing I owned in that house. Every appliance, every piece of furniture, every little thing I had paid for with my own money. If they thought they were just getting a house, they were about to find out it was empty of everything valuable. I called the moving company I had found earlier, Green Mountain Movers. The guy on the phone, David, sounded groggy but professional. I told him what needed to be moved. The big L-shaped sofa, the 65-inch TV, the washer, microwave, toaster, dining chairs, and all the personal stuff I wanted to reclaim. At first he sounded shocked. Today, he asked. Yes, today, I said firmly. I need it gone as soon as possible, and please quietly, no noise. After I listed everything, he understood. All right, he said. We'll need a rush fee, but we can get a crew there. Earliest is noon. Does that work? Perfect. Noon was the best time. Everyone would usually be out of the house. That meant I could move everything without leaving any traces behind. I spent the morning carefully marking items with post-it notes. This is mine, I wrote. That one too. Every little thing I had paid for was accounted for. My parents and Kristina probably expected me to be crying in my room, but I didn't. Their occasional laughter from the living room barely registered. It was just background noise. At noon, the movers arrived. David and his team were quiet, fast, and professional. I met them at the front door and pointed to everything marked with notes. They didn't ask questions, they just got to work. First came the L-shaped sofa. 2 movers lifted it carefully and carried it through the doorway. Watching it leave, I didn't feel sad. I felt free, like a heavy weight had been lifted. That sofa wasn't just furniture. It was something I bought myself, and now I was taking back what was mine. Next went the 65-inch TV, wrapped and protected. Then the washer, the microwave, the toaster. Dining chairs carefully loaded one by one. When a mover paused with a chair, he asked, "Is the table okay to leave?" "Yes," I said. "That table belonged to my grandfather, but the chairs, I bought those last year." He nodded and carried them away. It hit me then, I wasn't stripping the house of all its things. I was carefully reclaiming everything I had invested in it. Every dollar, every hour, every effort I had put into making this house a home. My mind stayed calm, precise like coding, every step planned and executed flawlessly. When the truck finally drove away, I stood alone in the house. The sounds of everyday life, the hum of appliances, the quiet creak of the floors were gone. The place felt empty, almost sacred. Most people might feel loss at that moment, but I felt accomplishment and a strange thrill, anticipating the next step. I photographed the moving receipts, proof of every single item I had removed. Then I placed the house key gently on the dining table where the chairs had been. I didn't need it anymore. I had done my part. I packed my laptop and went to a nearby cafe to start the paperwork for a new place. I waited, calm, collected, planning the next moves. Exactly 48 hours later, my smartwatch vibrated softly. Time was up. I watched the sunset, sipping espresso. My phone lit up. It was my mother. I didn't answer. The voicemail recorded Kristina's panicked voice, screaming, "There's nothing left. Mila took everything. It's all gone." My mother tried to calm her, her voice shaky with panic. "I've been calling Mila. She won't answer. What is going on?" They expected me to cry, pack, and leave quietly. They never imagined I would take everything. I texted my best friend and lawyer, Rebecca. "The curtain has risen." Her reply was instant. "Popcorn ready." A few minutes later, my father called. I sent it straight to voicemail. "Mila," he said on the recording, confused more than angry. "What did you do? The house, it's empty. Call me back. You've gone too far." Too far. I sat there sipping my coffee, imagining them packing through an empty house. The next morning, I was at Rebecca's law office, a modern glass space, clean and quiet. She handed me a cup of herbal tea and smiled mischievously. "So last night's empty castle caused quite a stir," she said. I handed her the voicemails and a thick folder of receipts, along with an old photo of my grandfather, Fred, holding me on his shoulders. "This is perfect evidence," she said, flipping through the receipts. "Every single item you moved is clearly yours. Even if they scream theft, the police will treat it as a civil matter." "But this isn't the end," I said, pointing to the photo. "My grandfather built that house himself. My parents said I inherited it legally, but I think something been hidden. My dad looked terrified whenever the house came up. I need to know the truth." Rebecca leaned in, her lawyer instincts kicking in. "Then we dig county records, wills. If there's anything hidden, we'll find it." I gave her Grandpa Fred's full name and approximate date of death. She squeezed my shoulder. "You've already done the hardest part," she said. "Reclaiming your life, let me handle the rest." Walking out of her office, the Portland sky was bright and almost mocking, but I felt calm. I wasn't fighting alone anymore. And deep down, I knew the truth coming would be far bigger than anything I could imagine. 2 days later, I got a short text from Rebecca. "Come to the office now." Even in those few words, I could feel her excitement and barely contained professional anger. When I walked into her office, she was staring at her monitor with a grim look. The moment she saw me, she spun her chair around. "Mila, brace yourself," she said. "I found something huge." On her screen was a digitized, officially registered legal document. Title: Last Will and Testament of Fred Holmes, my grandfather. "Your parents told you there was no will, right?" Rebecca asked. "Yes, they said he never made one, and the estate went to them under state law," I said. "That was a lie," she spat the words like a curse. She zoomed in on the relevant section. Amid the legal jargon, one sentence stood out, clear and undeniable. "All real estate, including the land and residence in suburban Portland, Oregon, shall be bequeathed solely to my beloved granddaughter, Mila Holmes." My breath caught. "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means exactly what it says. From the moment your grandfather passed, the house legally belonged to you. Your parents and Kristina had zero inheritance rights. They knew it and tried to hide it, even tried to evict you. That's not just a family argument, that's fraud." Listening to Rebecca, memories clicked into place. The day Grandpa Fred measured my height on the doorway and said, "Someday you'll be the one to protect this house." It wasn't just a cute gesture. It was a message for me for the future. Now I understood why my parents had accepted my sacrifices so easily. Why my father always looked uneasy when the house came up. They'd been quietly terrified I would find the truth. Their guilt had been masked by my kindness. Cold, absolute determination settled deep in my gut. If they had hidden the truth, it was my duty to expose it. "Rebecca," I said, calm but firm, "teach them reality." "With pleasure," she grinned, like she'd been waiting for this moment. The next day, a certified letter arrived at the family home with Rebecca's name on it. Inside were 2 enclosures. The first, a formal notice asserting my ownership of every piece of furniture and appliance, warning that any false accusation of theft would trigger a defamation lawsuit. The second, a copy of Grandpa Fred's will, officially notifying them that the property belonged to me. It clearly stated that my parents and Kristina's family were in unlawful occupancy and must leave immediately. By the afternoon, my phone was flooded with calls. Rebecca answered only one, my mother. "Put Mila on," my mom shouted. Rebecca's voice was calm and precise. "Mila will not be speaking with you. All future communication must go through this office in writing. Be aware, damages accrue daily for unlawful occupation." The call ended. My mother was speechless. They had always seen me as the emotional one, easy to guilt, easy to control. But now they faced the law itself, something no guilt or manipulation could touch. Unwilling to accept defeat, they hired a local attorney and tried to challenge the will. They claimed Grandpa Fred was too old to make sound decisions or that I had manipulated him. But Rebecca had already prepared everything: a medical exam from just weeks before the will was signed, and a video of Grandpa Fred at a local chess tournament, sharp and laughing. Their defense collapsed in court. The judge upheld the will. A formal eviction order was issued against my parents and Kristina's family. They were allowed to stay only for the last weekend. I went with Rebecca, not to enter, but to meet the real estate agent. As we spoke in front of the house, Kristina suddenly burst out, furious. "Mila, how dare you? Do you think you can get away with this?" "Whether I get away with it or not is for the court to decide," I said calmly. "And don't forget to pay for damages during unlawful occupation, and your lawyer's fees too." I smiled. Rebecca stood beside me, arms crossed, cold and calm. Kristina went silent, frustrated. She no longer had any control over me. Through the curtain I could see my parents peeking inside. They didn't even have the courage to face me. Pathetic. They had lost everything: family, trust, reputation, and now their home, all by their own choices. The house sold quickly. A well-built home in a quiet Portland suburb was easy to sell. When the agent confirmed the sale, I finally felt like I could breathe. After years of hard work, this project was done. As ordered by the court, my parents and Kristina's husband, Jonah, left the house by the eviction deadline, sneaking out at night. All they left behind were some old dishes and unpaid bills. The money from the sale became the foundation for my new life. I used part for a down payment on a new apartment and invested the rest wisely. For the first time, every cent went to me. From what I heard later, their lives fell apart. Kristina and Jonah lost the assets they relied on. Their marriage ended. Kristina moved from couch to couch in California, searching for work. My parents moved far from Portland to a small rural apartment. My father lost motivation. My mother complained endlessly. Rebecca was already preparing to file criminal charges for hiding the will. They would pay more than just money soon. They would face real consequences. Even hearing about their downfall didn't stir any emotion in me. No anger, no hatred, only calm, indifference. That proved they were no longer part of my life. I blocked all their numbers. They didn't know my address. I had cut every tie, physically, digitally, emotionally. A few months later, I decided to rebuild my life from scratch. I moved to Denver, Colorado, wanting a clean start. A green tech startup there hired me as a project manager. Financial independence I already had, but now I finally had emotional independence too. No one's moods or demands could control me. I was in full control of my life, and that felt like the truest strength I'd ever known. About a year later, Rebecca visited me. We quietly celebrated in my new apartment. She looked around, smiling softly. "This place is beautiful. It really feels like you." "It's all thanks to you," I said. "Without you, I might still be chained to that house." "No," she said. "I just showed you the legal path. You executed that wild, brilliant 48-hour plan. That strength was yours all along." She was right. For years I had doubted myself under the weight of my family, but I had never been weak. The courage to stand up, to say no, had always been there. Everything I went through had awakened the sleeping lion inside me.